Ashley, so welcome to the Dialogue Impromptu. I think that in English, impromptu exists, right? Or not?
Improv.
Ah, improv. Okay. So yeah, it's good. This is
we say impromptu as well, but you know, it's an improvised conversation.
yeah, exactly. So this is what it is. I started to do that a few weeks ago, a month ago. I lost track on time. And I decided, because my life is so organized in some part of my profession, and I'm tired to prepare things and structure things. So I said, okay, let's do a dialogue. We don't prepare anything. We have the theme ahead. So I'm sure it's working in our mind. But we just do a conversation, casual conversation. We can also accept that there are moments of we have silence because we're thinking about ideas, and then we rebound, so this is how it works. So I'm very happy to have you, and I'm very happy to have you in English, in another language than my French language. So it's nice to see you and to talk about stop apologizing theme. What it is actually, what does it mean? Because you gave me this idea, I find it amazing. Why did you get this idea?
So, I mean, obviously there's practically a manual for, what women who are, trying to have their equal place in the work environment, or just in general, certain habits that women have that are maybe holding us back, maybe being excessively polite. Like almost the kind of thing, if somebody bumped into you, you would apologize for even being in their way. When it's like, you don't need to apologize. They bumped into you. Or
apologizing for existing, basically.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. And I think because, women are, mostly wired, or have been historically wired to be caregivers, nurturing. It's that idea that I need to make you feel comfortable.
First, priority.
But, yeah, the others are the priority. And so, that has been the thing. And I think I've thought about the whole idea because I thought, well, this could actually have some negative consequences if women also stop apologizing a little too literal and then became very blunt and unpleasant, almost like the two wrongs make a right sort of thing, which I don't think that's at all what it's saying, but that's where exploring what it means to all of us is really interesting, because I respect people who apologize when it's an appropriate time to do that, because like we whether it's friends, family, people we've known for 100 years, sometimes an apology is really hard to do. But in this context, I think, it's like just apologizing for even existing is the thing that we don't need to do. And I actually brought it up to my female friends last night, and they said, oh, that's really good. They were saying my female colleague just recently said, sometimes in a meeting when she feels maybe she's not being heard, she'll say something, she'll preface herself to say, I'm sorry, maybe I'm not explaining myself very well.
Always undermining, underestimating what we can bring to the table. This is like a very bizarre reflex, or bizarre or obvious reflex. It means that we don't think we are worth it.
Right.
Subconsciously, right. Or I don't know.
Or I'm the problem. It must be me,
Yeah, always this subtext of I'm not worth it, or I am a problem. So, okay, excuse me for being here, excuse me for adding, as if it was not something worth it and precious and important. Yeah, it's about as if we think we are not so important in this equal. And Ashley, today is obviously it's a Women's Day, rights.
I know.
For the rights. So the stop apologizing also, it's like, do I have the right not to apologize all the time, as if it was a normal behavior for a woman? We need to erase this. And for the next generation, they shouldn't inherit. This is not a good heritage,
No, exactly. I mean, and I think that's the thing of, having good examples amongst each other where, we're not overcorrecting the problem by being rude.
Yes, good point.
Yeah. And then, maybe, for younger counterparts, providing some helpful suggestions, because we've all been in those situations where, sometimes you do need to work harder to get your point across. I mean, I think one of the more frustrating things is anytime I've been in a situation where essentially almost everybody's talking over each other. It doesn't happen all the time, but then it's like, if I don't cut somebody off, I'm not going to get a chance to speak, period.
Oh my God. I know what
Do
you're
you
talking.
encounter it?
Oh, yeah, of course, too much in my life. And actually, this is very annoying when I have the feeling I need to cut, while we know that cutting or interrupting is not polite. So you're put in a position where the only way to survive is to cut the conversation of the word, because nobody makes you create space for you. I mean, nobody. Who are the nobody? I don't know. And I really, I got to, I had this in this situation too often, Ashley. And it's not very nice. I don't know about you, but for me, it's not nice to feel that I disturb because I cut, because I have no room to talk. So this is my only survival effect. I need to cut. And the person, if this is a man, it could be a woman, but most of the time it's the man saying, "Oh, sorry, you're interrupting me," because you don't let room for me. And if you don't let room, I'm just going to be silent. No, my personality is not that silent woman. And then these people would say, "Oh, she has a strong personality, she's too much." Oh, excuse me, am I too much, or am I just me?
Right. No, exactly. I mean, and I think in those instances, you're not being rude at all. If you're in a situation where basically everyone's talking over everyone else, taking a moment to say, like, if I can just say something, and maybe using the hand gestures if it's appropriate, but otherwise it's like you're in class, and what are you going to do? Like,
and you sit forever.
wait to be called on. I mean, that's what one of our friends said, that it was an actual Zoom meeting, and it wasn't her, it was her friend, but they were discussing her work, and the conversation became like a runaway train, and she used the raise her hand button on Zoom. Just, I guess, it was funny, but also it was like, oh my gosh.
The reflection of the problem. If you need to raise your hand to talk about under your name, this is wrong,
Yeah, there's a problem. And so, I mean, hopefully, I think men and women are becoming just more aware of, letting others have their voice, whether it's a female or a minority, it's, don't take the air out of the room, let other people talk. But, when you're getting into certain areas where you're less established, having the confidence to assert yourself is just really hard. So, it's funny, there's this, I think it's mostly used in English, but there's kind of a snotty term called "sorry, I'm not sorry." And it has a lot of attitude in it.
I'm gonna keep it. Excusez-moi, je ne m'excuse pas. Sorry, I'm not sorry. It's a good one. It's a good one. And you use that word confidence. It's all about confidence for me. Confidence to dare to speak, or not to dare, just to speak. And confidence not to be ridiculous if you try to push to finally take room. And to be confident that this is your right to take some room. And to be confident that if you are criticized because they say you're rude, you don't think you're rude. You stay. This is dignity also.
Absolutely. And I would just always consider the source of, if people do find it to be rude, and, there's a way to communicate and take pauses and listen and assert yourself without having it get unpleasant. But just getting to that point where you're willing to assert yourself in the first place is, what we would, hopefully encourage people to do, and not feel apologetic about it. And don't feel apologetic if you stumble a little bit at the same time too, because, the point is, women having their equal place, in areas of leadership and, a voice in decision making, means you will make some mistakes. And I just, I think also too, and that's what we were talking about last night, is what are the other people doing, that of people who you respect, and, follow their lead. And you should be okay. But just getting to that point where, we don't have to always be holding ourselves back too much.
Yeah, if it cuts the flow, that's a pity as well. But maybe this is the stage or a step where we need to go to be a little bit uncomfortable sometimes, just to be aware. And then we will maybe reach the point where we are comfortable and we are able to assert. And I like that verb, in French, we don't have the exact word, but I like to assert yourself. I like that, to express yourself, take the time to affirm, to speak your word. And when I listen to you, I really feel the rhythm of conversation. Sometimes you feel that some people are talking, no pause, as if they pause, somebody will sneak in, you know, or no, they don't want to let anyone. And I would say it's not even maybe a man or a specific man, also women. I mean, I've been in conversation with women. You cannot, they're talking. There is no pause where you can not sneak in, but just make your point and let her again. So for me, I find it interesting to think about this rhythm of the conversation and to feel comfortable that maybe the pause will be listened to,
right,
and the other will rebound or reflect. This is a new art of rhetoric, and for me, thanks to Zoom, thanks to all these online, we experiment what it is to listen, to pause, to let the silence, or to jump into my turn, you know.
Well, and certainly, like, you know, having other people who you work with who take those moments, well, and, you know, you can certainly try to lead by your own example and just open up. Did anybody want to add to this? Did I miss anything? Make the assumption that somebody didn't get their chance to talk.
That's very good sentence, because obviously if you make a pause, some people would not have the confidence or would not dare. And if you encourage them or you reach to them, I like this question. I really like this question. This is very efficient, because we don't have all the same confidence to raise your voice, open your mouth. I don't know what you think, but I don't know if you're in your education in the United States, you can speak from your own point of view. You cannot really speak about all in that. But I'm telling about my point of view as a French person, and I know from other points of view of French, we are not educated to the public speaking. And when I hear you, Americans in general, maybe it's stupid to say in general, but you're more comfortable to me than French people in this public speaking. And you know, the question that you mentioned is very good. And I didn't have the idea, you know, to help people to take the space to speak. What do you think? You were well prepared in public speaking, in school, in education, in work in general? Do you have?
I mean, as you know, a lot of my training actually included theater, which means that it's not just a monologue, but you are working with other actors who have lines. So maybe some of that ear to like understand that it's not, you know, a one person show helps. I mean, I remember taking some communication courses, but I didn't have a communications degree, so I can't speak for those people who really delved into this. So I want to think that there is an area that talks about sharing a discussion with others and productive dialogue. I mean, I know that there's a lot on this now. I mean, but like you said, like at the younger ages, I don't feel like this was covered.
Really? Ashley, because younger, because I'm not talking about, I don't know which level in university. I'm just talking when you're a teenager or high school.
Right.
Because I was a teacher in a middle school and primary school French American, and I was amazed by the homework and what they did in the school. So it was in 2004 for the kids. They had a lot of public speaking, expressing, doing like a report about everything, not always writing. Right in French, we write a lot. I mean, in my time, we wrote a lot. And when it's time to speak in front of the classroom, I'm scared, you know. Yeah, we are all timid and shy. That's a human thing. But really, we were not comfortable with the rhetoric and body language. And with your training in acting, obviously it was the best school ever to do acting and to be, but you think in primary, middle school, high school, you didn't have this public speaking education?
No, I mean, and that could have been very specific to the schools that I went to. You know, I did private Christian elementary school that had much more an emphasis on religion than academics from my perspective. Okay. And then on from that, it was middle school and high school in the public schools. And I mean, I wouldn't say it was a negative experience, but I don't know that they were really preparing us for this kind of thing. I mean, it was very much still in the classroom where if you had something to say, you raised your hand and you waited to be called on.
Yeah, I know.
But life doesn't work like that. You're not always going to be called on.
And you know, the problem, you know, a question comes to my mind. Have you seen in a meeting, professional meeting, a man doing this? Because I think I've seen maybe women doing it, but
I've done it. I want to say it was maybe 3 years ago, but I think there was at one point because I felt the conversations had essentially like taken a life of their own, and it was just all this. And so I was just like, I have something to say. And like, I need to silence everything for a moment if I can, please. And then I was fine. It was not traumatic. I didn't feel bad, but I remember just looking and looking and being like,
A ping pong.
when's my
You know,
turn? I'm gonna jump in any moment now.
the ping pong. Can I play?
Yeah.
Can I play?
Yeah, it's like keep away ball. Well, and then sometimes, it's interesting because especially when it's an audio only conference call, I find obviously it's a lot easier to accidentally cut people off in those things. But I've had, for some reason, some groups of people are just naturally better at not doing that on the whole than others. But then I have others where it's constantly like, oh no, you go. No, no, you go. You go. It's like it reminds me of a four-way stop. You must have the expression four-way stop, where basically all the cars are like trying to wave the other. Everybody's so polite that nobody's going, and then they go at the same time again, and then it's like, oh my gosh.
Actually, I understand.
Four-way stop.
I understand that. I will tell you, maybe it's a cliche. Sorry for the French cliche, but for me, in my culture, that would be the opposite. People are overlapping. That's you cannot hear. You cannot really articulate or listen to what's going on. It's overlapping, and it drives me crazy. It's better to laugh about it, but
it is.
Yes, but yeah. So coming back to, we are in the subject. The stop apologizing. Does it mean that we become different kinds of human being if we stop apologizing? Does it mean something is new in the woman state or statement? What would it be?
Yeah, no, actually, that's a good question. I mean, fundamentally, I don't see it as a masculine trait just to be confident and assertive.
I agree with you.
It shouldn't be.
Oh, actually, I actually know some men being very shy, timid, and with a big lack of confidence. And I'm sure in some meetings, they are the ones shutting down,
Well, and then they're going to be overlooked for professional opportunities. So, and maybe, this is all natural selection, but because there has been such an imbalance, it seems I think the fact that there are helpful things like this, like I saw a couple examples, if everybody makes mistakes, right? Like small mistakes, little typos, or, somebody could on an email say like, oh, you missed this was not correct. And instead of being, oh my gosh, I am so sorry, you just say, thank you, that was really helpful. And that was an example of something. So you don't have to just like hold yourself to this unrealistic standard of perfection. Everybody's late sometimes. Everybody, you want to be as good as you possibly can, but you also don't need to like throw yourself down with apologies for any and every mistake.
Oh my God, that's a very good example.
Take it in stride.
That's a very good example. And when I listen to you, I have this vision of the victim. Oh yes, I'm so bad. You're right. You pointed it. I'm so bad, and I'm gonna over pointing it. So we make it bigger, basically.
Absolutely.
And by switching and the sentence saying thank you, like gratitude that, oh, you helped me to do this better. That's a switch, and it's a switch in the behavior, and it's oh my God, yeah, it makes sense. This could actually change the whole relationships by doing this kind of thing in a small email. And I exactly know what you mean in the email, that you forget something, you feel bad, and feeling guilty doesn't mean that you should add to your guilt.
No, we're as a society, we take on so much. I mean, that whole I still, when I hear something like work-life balance, I'm like, like what is the healthy version of that? But yeah, it's like no attachment, no problem. Here it is. I mean.
Oh yes, to take it easy, to take it more lightly.
When possible, there are high stakes things that need to be held to a higher standard, but you can't just live your life, because I've had friends and even myself, like once you start obsessing about the little mistakes, it's almost it affects your performance, because you start thinking like, oh no, I'm gonna mess up, and so you're not loose, you're definitely not confident. It's a distraction, it's noise, and you can
Yeah,
just be like,
exactly, Ashley. It makes me think about the whole point of this is also working on your own emotional life. It doesn't mean that you're going to be Buddha, but you need to work on this emotional balance or lightness. Uh, Otherwise, sorry, otherwise you will take everything for like on defensive mode, and
right.
as you said, the rest, the consequence is that you may break or may damage the rest. And what I want to tell you, because I suddenly have the idea, and also because you're acting, are you still acting? That's the question.
No.
For me, you're an actress, but anyway, you
It
know what
doesn't
I'm
go
talking about.
away.
When you're acting and you mess up, you do something imperfect. If you freeze on this mistake, oh my God, the whole play is messed up. This is the end of the world. And this job or this training, I think, helped us. And that's why I'm not the best in keeping it light. I'm not the best. I'm just saying that I got some trainings through acting, and you as well, that you mess up something, you keep going. And the way to keep going is not just because you're a good actress and that you do as if you are not fragile, but you need, this is survival. You need to keep going and to not to put too much guilt and not to focus on the mistake. And I think the acting should be the best example or best training for every single human, man or woman, not only for the listening skills, as you said at the beginning, but also for this way of emotional strength. And yeah, I think it's healthy. It would be it was healthy for me to have this training, and I'm sure for you as well. What do you think?
I think absolutely. I mean, I think it puts you do so many exercises that you have to get out of your comfort zone and feel silly and feel ridiculous and be comfortable in that state. And yeah, I know that actually here in America, they have a lot of corporate training that includes improv
Oh,
classes.
really?
And I think it's a great idea because it's not, you don't have to memorize any material, but it's being in the moment and responding to somebody else. And it's fun. It's a great exercise. I think more places should do it. I think it's bonding for whoever participates in such a thing. But you learn from it, and you become more confident because you realize, like, in the moment, I managed to say something really witty, or they did, and we had a great back and forth rhythm going on, and it's really fun and exciting. So I know I didn't intend to have this be, like, at all related to theater, but as you talk about it, it's like, well, why is it more natural for some and not others? And I do think, as much as I could have, been interested in something more serious, it still serves me and it still finds a way to help in day-to-day life.
I'm on the same page. I really think this is an art to do it, and this is an exercise. And if you're not trained to be outside of your comfort zone or to be ridiculous without thinking you're dead or this is the end of the world of your life, and I think this acting is an amazing tool. And also in France, I heard there are some trainings and some workshop they organize, and they say that for people being colleagues, they discover another side of the person, and it really creates also some bonding in the teamwork. It creates another synergy or chemistry. And I think this is, and for me, going back to stop apologizing or the problem we have when we discuss or when we write to a person or when we are work together, suddenly I think that the acting, the playing characters, the exercise would be one of the solutions for me to help the relationships and the balance and the equality of space to talk, space to be, space to express.
Well, absolutely. And it's like in those moments, if you feel like you're getting into, like you described earlier, a victim mentality where you just start retreating and retreating because you're not being given your turn. Other people aren't noticing and they have no idea what's going on inside your mind while you're going, like, I'm not getting to talk. I'm starting to feel increasingly disappointed. You have to, like, tell that inner voice to be quiet and jump in there. And you know, the more often you do stuff like that, the easier it will become. And I think, but I do think in most settings, like so many people are really conscious and doing better to give people an equal voice, you know, if you're attending something. But you know, certainly when you're finding your way and trying to get established, like don't assume, like, and if you are navigating yourself with the expectation that everybody's going to be looking out for you, no, you're gonna go in the back, you know, because for the most part, you know, we are in a society, you know, we want to think that everybody is kind and doing unto others, but there is a little bit of like, you know, fighting to stay ahead. And so, you know,
Competition, yeah, it's still a way of life or way of working, at least. It might change. We are maybe in transition of this hierarchy change or switch, but unfortunately, yeah, we need to be aware that it still exists. And so it doesn't mean that I want to fight to make my
no,
point and assert, but I need to work on my own confidence, my own emotional way of being, in order to raise my voice when it's the right time. And also, I would say lead or be by example. Also, as you say, when you ask this kind of question, imagine you get to speak, or and then you say, what do you think? And then it shows by your example, oh, that's a new or nice way to take the spot, and then share share the space for others to speak. I think
right.
be a good example of what we would like other people to be, to try to train it and to exercise it, even if it's not that easy when you are on the spot. But I think I try to do it sometimes when I am in meetings, but I'm not saying I'm doing it right, but at least I really think that each single meeting or moment when there is a public speaking is the best place for me to try to exercise for myself and maybe give people's idea of how to do. And what you just said about the question and everything gives me ideas to then to practice it for
Good.
new situations. So yeah, stop apologizing. But I want to say something about apologizing. When you say among people, among friends and family, you say sometimes it's difficult to apologize, maybe because of the ego or the pride, or because of so many past, I don't know, issues that we pile up and we don't want to apologize. And I think this is also an amazing exercise to keep apologizing. So this is the
Yes.
control of what we keep apologize when it's the right moment. Not don't do it all the time, because it loses some value of the apologizing. But I think it's actually difficult, and it's good to recognize it's difficult to apologize sometimes. And me, I also do an exercise apologizing, even if when sometimes I don't want to apologize, but yes, I try to do it with my heart. Because I feel so much lighter after this, and also for the person you make the person light.
I know. I mean, that's a more complex thing because it's like not only being capable of offering a sincere apology, but doing it soon and not letting it like silence and negativity go on for a long time. Because like you said, especially I notice with family members, it's kind of like one little fight will like reignite person from like the dawn of time. So it's not like that one thing. It's like you always do this, and you know, it just
You pile up. You don't say this, so you pile up all the past issues.
yeah, all the stuff that you're like still carrying with you. And I guess that's, you know, a whole other topic of forgiveness and like really letting go. But it's harder with you know, some people who've been in our lives for a really long time. But you know, like, you know, it's interesting because I've seen some people say like, well, I'm sorry you feel that way. And it's like, okay, that's not an apology.
Terrible sorry. I'm sorry if you feel that.
That's it. Yeah. And it's like, okay. So yeah, taking like getting to the point where people can like remove their anger or whatever perceived wrong that happened and be like, ultimately, do you want to get along? Do you want this other person to be happy? And do you want them to not feel hurt by something you've done? And is that a mutual place you want to be? Or is it more important to be like, no, I was right and I'm not saying sorry? Like it's that becomes like a value of like, what's more important, the relationship or being right? or believing that you were right. The relationship hopefully is more important, right?
I hope so. And being right is actually the whole point of the problem of stop apologizing. Because when we apologize too much, we assume the person is right, which is sometimes totally the opposite. So we give the right, we give the acceptance of the person by saying, this is a wrong way to see the situation. This is that we're not helping the evolution of the relationship and the equality, because we're pushing in a wrong direction of assuming he or she is right by treating you like that or not. So this is we actually building something against ourselves. I don't know if you see what I mean.
You know, I do. It's validating something that wasn't wrong in the first place, because we've put apologies places where they don't belong.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if we go to like what we were starting, like, you know, oh, I'm sorry I was in your way. Like you didn't do anything wrong. You're just living your life. You're not in anybody's way.
Yeah, exactly. You know, this is validate. It's exactly the problem. We validate something that's wrong, and by validating by something that's wrong, we write the wrong story. We write the wrong. How do we say when we play a game? There is this not the schedule.
Scoreboard.
Yes,
like scorecard.
Yeah. We're writing the wrong guideline or the wrong recipe by validating, and for the relationship between men and women, if this is the case where women are apologizing too much, by keeping this kind of behavior, we're validating the wrong guideline for relationship. Yeah, I'm repeating myself, but suddenly, yeah, because I like to get the keyword that you said, because it helps me to grasp the topic.
Well, that originally when I thought of the topic, and I almost wanted to put a question mark after it, like stop apologizing, like do it, because like
yes or no.
Can't be too black and white about it. So, you know, hopefully we are making that point that it's just like, don't apologize for existing. Don't apologize for, you know, having a voice and being in the world.
Yeah. I totally.
There's still an appropriate time and place to.
Oh, there is definitely. It's not. Our point is definitely not to say stop apologizing. Period. That would be too extreme.
Right.
Silly. And as we say that apologies are healthy when the right place, the right person, the right time. Good use of apology. It will save the world. But yeah, the wrong use would actually destroy something. And yeah, definitely the stop apologizing was not a statement like a feminist, and we stop now, we are just always right.
Right.
No, this is not our point.
Sorry about it.
No, we don't want to go from one extreme to the other one.
No,
but
certainly not.
But I think we went to different colors of this subject. It's good. We could speak forever. I would speak with you forever, Ashley. As you know, we spoke for many hours in our lives together. But I think we will maybe stop this live. And I think, what do you think? It's a good sample of the spontaneous improvised dialogue. I think there are much.
I think so. Yeah. Unfortunately, Facebook Live didn't pan out as we wanted it to, but hopefully we'll figure something else out next time. But thank you for inviting me. I miss you, of course. I hope you're staying as safe and healthy as you can.
You too, Ashley, and we talk soon on private, but it was very nice to have you here. I will push the button, stop recording.